Good morning. How's everyone doing? I'm glad that you can all hear me and hopefully see me. For those who have not had the occasion of meeting me, my name is Curtis Chambers, and I just wanted to come with a slightly different angle to a familiar refrain and topic, which is um finance, personal finance. But today we're gonna start off with talking about our health, physical health, and how that impacts, our mental health, and therefore impedes or imposes itself on our financial wellness. And where I'm going today is something that's known as the gut brain axis, AXIS. So the gut brain axis, there's a super highway, so to speak, between our stomach, our gut, and our brains. And some people are more aware of it than others. So, um, my hope was to give a talk. I don't like to hear myself drone on too much, but I wanted to at least have a small dialogue with Pastor. Right now, we're having a little bit of technical difficulty, so I'm just gonna jump into certain aspects of what that gut brain is. And at any time, if we change course, it'll be because things have switched a bit. That's totally fine. Just wanted to share some things about the gut brain. And Pastor, I know you can't communicate with me verbally, but are we live on any of your platforms or anything like that? So people could, okay. So if you uh feel free to, throw something in, or if you see something in a chat or anyone has any questions or any comments or want me to address certain things, we can definitely do that as well. All right. So I just want to really start off by talking about how a lot of people, like I said, may not be aware that there is a connection. And not only is there a connection between our emotions and our digestion, just know that, some people, sometimes you hear someone have the common refrain of, I had a gut feeling about that person, or I had a gut feeling regarding that situation. And I thought it was just like a throwaway line or phrase, and it really is not. There is a deep, deep connection. So much so that meant our mental health is tied to our wellness. So, it's strange because sometimes our thoughts are we've eaten, we're eating things that are positive, it could be vegetables, it could be fruits, but not every time that vegetable or fruit is right for you. So, with that being said, even if you think you're eating well, there could be some issues with regard to what's going on for you. So, yes, stress impacts your gut function. So, we're seeing how this is all connected. So, our mental health and digestion are connected. And stress impacts our gut function, and gut health influences our mood as well as our cognition.
There you go.
Perfect. So, yeah, so our stress and our digestion do affect each other. So there are some, you'll hear some. Unfortunately, I wish I knew a lot of these things earlier because of our students, our children, the people that we know, love, and want to see do well. Sometimes, right now it's 9 o'clock. There's someone somewhere having a test, or maybe it's too early in the year to have any sort of exams. But if they are at this time of day, or even if you're going for, you're trying to pass the bar, any sort of certification, licensure, and we don't understand how, eating certain meals might take away or detract from our ability to recognize certain things or recall certain pieces of information. This is what this forum is for today, because there are things known as microbes, and we have trillions of them, not hundreds, thousands, or even millions and billions, trillions. And these microbes, they produce chemicals, and this is not something that I expect anyone to just remember and be an expert on. I'm still learning, when it comes to the gut-brain connection. It's just about the awareness. That's what I do at COC. We bring about awareness, and that way we can continue the dialogue, and just so that you know that there is one. And I know because I remember my daughter. Let me taste some of her Takis. For those of you out there that know about those chips, man, oh man, I don't know what they were made with, kerosene or lard or what, or some combination, but As soon as you eat that, I think I had an empty stomach at that point. You just felt it scratching, scraping, kicking and screaming all the way down and through. So certain things just aren't supposed to be in your stomach, and it really can throw you for a ride or throw you for a loop. And my thing is, I just thought, yeah, it might be it's nasty or gave me an upset stomach, but I didn't know there would be a ripple effect with that. So for those that may or may not be aware, there are things like serotonin. And again, new buzzwords. I want people to learn new things, but serotonin, these are things that are from the brain. I thought that it was only in the brain. Cortisol, which is not a great thing. It's supposed to be, something that's not so positive. That's something that comes from the brain. Serotonin is also another thing that I heard about with the brain. But what I didn't know is that serotonin mostly is made in our guts. And I'll talk about, the role of that and why that matters here in a second. But just know that those microbes that I alluded to, those are like our tiny roommates, and then they influence our mood. So there was a mouse study that was done, and one thing I learned, right? This is something that maybe if I maybe later on I'll share that clip, but right now I'm just going to describe it for you. There were scientists and they had these mice, rats, whatever the case may be, and it was in a watery, milky substance, and there was they can swim, so it wasn't that they were going to drown, but they just wanted to be able to quickly get out of the water, right? And they had a little platform for them to get on, just immerse them in the water. First mouse had nothing introduced to its system, regular diet that you would want to have, and it swam straight to that platform in about 5.2 seconds. Let's call it 5 seconds. Fine. They chart that. They put the next specimen in, and that specimen was fed inordinate amounts of sugar and, you know, things that you probably wouldn't call a healthy diet, right? They didn't get any blunt trauma to the head. They didn't give it alcohol or, substances of misuse. Just things in our diet that you probably would not recommend to someone for a healthy diet, including inordinate amounts of sugar. And it took that mouse rat, I can't recall, I think it was rat, about 50 seconds, 40, 50 seconds to get on that same platform. And that lets me know that, when we start talking about things like dementia, Alzheimer's, it's almost like it's a disease of the brain that's akin to diabetes in the brain, because that thing was meandering and wandering around and same distance, same everything, would go by it, not really recognize it, then eventually kind of just stumbled upon it. It was like, oh, I'm here. And it was jarring to me because it is, people will say you are what you eat. I've heard these things going back decades, but just didn't really make the real connection. And I know it's early in the morning, and since we're talking about studies, just to kind of lay the groundwork that this isn't just someone, throwing ideas out there, and it's never my own personal ideas that I'm just coming up with my hypotheses. They, there are actual cases where when you're doing these types of surveys and experiments, I just talked about it with regard to the species, the rats, the rodents, or what have you, but they've even done stuff with humans, Pastor. And what they've done is take, we talk about microbes, I want to make sure people understand what I'm talking about. So without getting, you know, nasty or vulgar or whatever, but just understand that includes our fecal matter, right? The feces, poop, for those that are maybe younger listening. They find a way to take the microbes of the poop and exchange it with someone else. And it's like, well, why would you do that? I don't know why they did it in the first place, but the results were astonishing. You may have a person who typically is a happy-go-lucky person. Just think of the people that you know. There's some people that always walk around with a smile on their face, no matter what. It could be storming outside, figuratively, literally, spiritually, and they still find a way to put a positive spin on it. They take that person, most upbeat, chipper person and find the gloomy Gus or someone that's unfortunately dealing with depression, um, which could be hereditary, and switch that microbe with that person, and that was a chipper, and all of a sudden they showed depressive symptoms. And the funny thing about that is the vice is versa. The opposite is also true. You can take someone who is usually a downer like droopy dog and switch that gut biome and put in and make that switch, and that person has seen a reduction of a significant decrease in the depressive symptoms. So that lends itself to really letting you know that there's a connection between our gut and our brain. There is a super highway, and it's always open. It's never closed down for construction. It's just a matter of what's being transported. And that's through something called the vagus nerve. Almost like Las Vegas, except for the fact that what happens in Vegas doesn't stay in Vegas like in real life, because this is VAGUS, and that vagus nerve is that highway that just brings that, whatever is going on in one area is always constantly transporting. So it becomes even more imperative to understand that what we eat matters, and it's not just what we eat. This is not to say you gotta throw this away or throw that away. It's just being cognizant of it, and also the preparation, right? So love the fact that air fryers are a thing now. People have already been, people love to grill, and I'm one. I love if you're having a piece of chicken or steak tips or something like that, I want it to have that char on it, that blackened. Unfortunately, that's not the best in the world. There's a lot of things in that blackened. Sometimes it's tied to carcinogens, things that may cause cancer or what have you. There's not to scare anybody. Just like when I'm doing the financial piece, it's not financial advice. Well, this isn't any advice to be given on anything as well, because I'm not a nutritionist. This is just information sharing that this is important. So when we skip meals, because as I tie it back to finances, right now the way things are going, socioeconomically in this new geopolitical landscape and every other big word I can think of, there are people that unfortunately come in my office and hey, I had to skip meal because I want to make sure Bobby ate or what have you, and that's age old, where we will sacrifice for our children or for those that we love. And unfortunately, that's not great. Unless you're fasting. If you're fasting and it's intentional and it's for the Lord, that's different than you having the stress connected to woe is me, I didn't get a chance to eat because we don't have enough. Right? If you're doing something of your own volition, you're just coming into it with a different mindset, and therefore there is an impact on the body. And so, you know, skipping meals has been a thing right now, and also just eating what you can because it's cheap. That's why things like the daily table closing, was a real frustration point for me, because they were strategically placed. We've suffered from food deserts for the longest time, and a food desert is a place where, you know, there's nothing really great for you to get in this, you know, radius of space, a few miles in a city or what have you. We don't have, the place where we can get organic foods. People may not have transportation and access to getting to some of these other, big box stores where I can buy in bulk and put down and save some money and put it in a deep freezer or vacuum seal. So we're going to the bodega, the corner store, whatever store we can go to, even the local supermarkets, which are often overpriced and you just can't get a deal. And so, or you just can't carry a whole bunch home. And so therefore you're doing what you can, which is going to that corner store and overpaying in more ways than one, not just economically, but because you're sacrificing certain health or expiration dates or what have you. Now you're in a situation where you will start getting prescriptions, and those things cost money too, and the co-pays. So you're going to pay it through the front door, you're going to pay it through the back end. But going back to the preparation, yeah, we like air frying, we like baking, of course. It's better than deep frying. But again, you think I'm gonna be able to tell someone they can't deep fry their such and such? I'm not trying to get beat up. So it's more of which things can I change? Maybe if I was doing that 6 times in a week or a month, can I drop that down a little bit and replace certain food with fiber rich foods that help bring about balance? You know, let me do a check, Pastor. Are you still getting that feedback? Are you able to?
I am here.
Perfect. I want to see if you can share with me, and it's totally fine if there's nothing that you're dealing with that's in this sphere, but just wanted to touch base and see, have you thought of a connection between your gut and your brain, or have you had a food or a dietary change occur in your life as Pastor Got?
I I spoke to you a couple days ago that because of my diabetes, that I wanted to begin to drink some beverages. For example, I can't take any carbonation at all in my system, no sodas at all in my system. And so I found some Welch's grape juice. And when I looked at the label months later, after I was consuming it all, I found out some of the small lettering that you can barely read said that there was caffeine in fruit juice.
Mm.
C- Caffeine in fruit juice. And I had consumed all of that, not knowing that that was hurting my system. So on the outside, it didn't look like it was a problem. But when I read the information, I realized that it was causing me more damage.
What type of damage you talking about? Like sleep, function, concentrate?
It being able, well, I got to be careful how I say this.
Mm.
Just having a leaky bladder.
Yeah.
So
Leaky gut is also associated with that.
I'm sorry.
A leaky gut is also associated with some of the things that deal with our stomach. When I say leaky gut, there are some things that go and you'll hear irritable bowel syndrome,
Yeah.
things of that nature. And so that these things that our brain, like I said, that I thought was associated with our brain, cortisol, serotonin. And when you're talking about that leaky gut, yeah, now it impacts other areas of your body. But I know you're talking about something physically,
Mhm.
um, more on the outward side, where you come about leaky bladder. So, and there are other foods that most people aren't even thinking about. Kombucha. I just pulled up a quick list here. Of course, matcha tea, protein bars, energy snacks. So people that, hey, I'm doing good because I'm having a protein bar instead of a burger or a cupcake. Still the same thing. And just so you know, if you had decaf, Pastor, a lot of people will say, well, we have a decaf coffee. Who, I mean, it's only a logical step to think that decaf means it's decaffeinated, but it doesn't mean it's caffeine free. It could
Right.
still have some, up to like 15 milligrams of it. So just so you're aware, when you say I'm ordering a decaf, it's almost like saying light. And so you're still having some introduced to your body. So if you're saying you don't want any, then you got to be mindful. Just again, the awareness. Hot cocoa, chocolate desserts, dark chocolate can have more some dark chocolates can have more caffeine than sodas. So
Well,
mhm,
you didn't ask me this question, but let me just say this, that I recently learned how to use my AI
mhm,
to use the camera on my phone to be able to have AI read the back of the labels, and it kicks out all the information that I need to know now
absolutely.
much quicker than I could have done it on my own.
If at all, because that's the next step. That's why we talk about this nexus or this interconnectivity between the finances and our mental and our physical. And what we do with COC Consulting is bring about financial literacy through digital literacy as well. We just did something the other night at a community event. A gentleman from Vital Village that we both know was there as well. I believe we'll be reaching out to you soon. But at that network night, it was about 60 people in the room from 8 to 80 years old, which I love because one of the only spaces where you can have that disparate amount of people and everybody's having a good time and learning together. And so we had something that's called a table talk. And of the 60 people, maybe 15, 20 want to go over here. Eric was actually there as well. He did one of the table talks, peer-to-peer counseling. Another young lady came out and talked about something else in the mental health space. And I did one on digital literacy. So it was about keeping our kids safe online, making sure they're not getting any friends that are not age appropriate or what have you. And during those table talks, we share, information. And mine was on digital wellness. And the reason why I'm bringing that up is because I was talking about some of those very same things. After we were talking about the safety and people started branching off into other questions, I talked about the fact that sometimes we think we don't have enough money to get, to have dinner or what have you. You can just open your refrigerator, I open the chat feature on my, whether it's Gemini, Chat GPT, Perplexity. I'm not here to be a proponent of any one, although it started for me with Chat GPT. Open my refrigerator and I can just have the camera function open and it can scan and say, hey, you can whip up a meal with this, or it can do what you're talking about. What in here might have caffeine that I don't know about? And so to think that I'm having a live conversation with it because it's on the live feature and it's like, oh, okay, and it'll show you, yeah, you see that apple cider vinegar? I see what you're doing there. You drinking that in the morning, taking those shots? Yes, and no. Just be mindful of doing it because you can get the GERD because of the lemon, the citrus, what have. It is phenomenal, and I know some people are shying away from it. I'm not here to be a proponent of it. And during this conversation, I'm not going to weigh in on whether I love it, hate it, or what have you. I'm just telling you what it can do. And so anything that could be used for good could be used for nefarious things as well. So you're just being mindful, saying, I know some great use cases that can help change people do some things because you can be unwittingly putting something in your body and you had no idea. And this is a great function that you can be in a store, in a supermarket, making decisions, and determining what might be good for you. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, when you go into the grocery store and you do that and you pull out your chat GPT, they're gonna kick you out and they're
What,
gonna say,
what are you
what?
wearing on what are you wearing on your ears right now? Headphones. So if you have any sort of thing, put those bad boys in your ear and you're good because they'll think you're just talking to someone on FaceTime and that's okay. If I was talking to you asking your opinion, that'd be okay. But because it's a robot, it's a problem. So therefore, for those that have that hang up, I'm always with my, you see CJ, we have our big earphones and I'll just pull that out and you wouldn't even know I'm talking to a robot or what have you because I'm gonna tie it right back to finances because a lot of people don't understand when they see the price tag in there in the store there's two numbers. There's the price that you're going to go to the cashier and pay, but there's a little left-hand corner. Always in the left-hand corner of that price tag, there's another number. And it'll say 4 cents or 18 cents or whatever it is. And it's like, this jar of, this thing of oatmeal isn't 18 cents. No, they're not saying the whole thing's 18. They're saying per unit. So whatever their unit size is, if they're breaking it down in ounces, or whatever they're doing for weight or volume, there's usually a per something. And that's there so that I can comparison shop. Because if I have the size of something, imagine that these two things were the same and same product. But look at the size difference. So it's like, oh man, this one has 75 wet wipes. This one might only have, because it's skinnier, 60 wet wipes. And so when I see the price difference, Pastor, I don't know that just because this was $2 and this is $2.50, if this is the better buy at $2. That just means it's less money. It may not be the better buy because if there's only 60 wipes in here, but for another 50 cents, I'm getting 25 more wipes. I need to know which one's the best. So they'll calculate per wipe in that instance. They might say a penny per wipe and the other one might be 1.4 cents per wipe. So, oh, okay, now I know the one that's a penny per wipe is the better buy for me right now. But I can use my Chat GPT to determine that so that I can make better fiscal decisions and say which one is the better buy financially. Just because the prices, show what they show, there might be a 2 for 1. There might be a buy one get one, which can further have you doing math. And some people are not mathematicians off the top of their head like that. Some are savants. Some of our kiddos can run circles around us and do that in their head. Especially some of our ones that are like autistic or what have you. Doesn't mean dumb. It means differently
Mhm.
abled. And so they may be quirky about certain things and times of day, but when it comes to this thing here, they'll tell you what's wrong with your car or what have you. But for the rest of us dunderheads, I'll use that right there to help me make financial decisions because now I can tie that in to people saying I don't have any money for life insurance or I don't have any money to get my estate. We're in make a will month. September's still here. Well, uh, wills and trusts. I'm always talking about that succession plans. What's next? So the reason why I'm talking about this is because remember their gut health influences our mood and our cognition. So we might not be making the best decisions for ourselves. We might be FOMO. You only live once. YOLOs, one of the terms some of the younger folks were using a decade ago, or I want to go party because we're coming out of COVID and now we're outside. That's what you'll hear people saying. Well, you're going to be living outside if you don't take care of your finances because if you don't notice, things are creeping up all around us. The rents, the cost of living. And so while you're doing these things here, there's other, actors in the background doing things to get things away from you because if you don't notice, We own nothing anymore. We rent things now. You subscribe so that you can get these movies. We used to go to the box and actually buy certain things and say, hey, I own this DVD, this VHS set, or even I don't care if you want to go back to beta and eight tracks or whatever. At least you own those things. Now you just subscribe to the Spotify, Tidal, Netflix, and you can watch things, but you don't own them. So you have to be mindful of how this all works together.
And the other thing that a lot of these companies are doing to take your money is to have you sign a contract for the next 5 years. And they've got you. There's no way out unless you pay out. We have that with the radio station that they said that we have to stay with the radio station until 2030. And that's a lot of money that they're going to be taking. Even with internet, they're doing the same thing with the internet. They're trying to
Yes,
go back to contracts with the phones.
yes,
We gotta watch the documents that we sign
yes.
because we can find ourselves indebted to them for a long period of time with no way out.
Absolutely. And so I'm glad you brought that up because a lot of, they're making sure that their tomorrows are good. We don't have anything making sure that ours are good, right? They have these gotchas, they have, legalese and things of that nature. So they are using the legal system. A lot of times people, I talk to them about that. Do you have your lawyer look at it? So if you had that camera out and at least you saw some legalese or some jargon, I'm not telling you to use that as your lawyer. Just like I wouldn't tell you to use it as your therapist or your imaginary friend or what have you. It at least can break something down and say, hey, there's something here that I don't understand. They thought it necessary to squeeze this stuff in here. Let me pause, right? So I would say PPP, right? Not the loans. You pause. Don't ever do anything. Just rush. Hey, hurry! You got to do it now. We got to do. We and you were talking the other day about potentially, doing that VIP with that AI session, and they always have this thing. My phone's blowing up with it, whether I'm on Facebook or in my email about the next 48 hours. You got to do it now, or you're going to lose out. So there's always that. Nope. Pause, ponder, right? Just to keep the alliteration going. Let me think about it and protect yourself before I move forward. So if I decide to do it, fine, but you're not going to get me to do it by, fear of missing out. But they will try to lock you in.
But the other thing that I'm learning that I'm doing is with the AI is that I've taken a 30-page legal document that they wanted me to sign, scan it into my computer, send it to AI. AI reads the whole thing. I've already asked questions about the document and it spits out the things that I need to be cautious of. And that's what isn't that amazing?
It's phenomenal. I'll ask it to summarize and synthesize. Basically, let's get this business brass tacks. What? Give me some bullet points. That's one of my favorite things to ask is for it to summarize it and synthesize it. And then, yeah, because you're right, it'd be 20, 30, 40-page documents. And then I'll say, knowing what you know about me and my mission and what I'm trying to do, where's the connection or what do I not know? Because I might think I'm cool and I got all the answers. And then like, no, tell me something that I don't know about this or what is it? Ask me a question about this. What kind of I can have it help me prompt it. What's the question I should be asking you based on this information that I gave here? So it can give me some ideas that I didn't think of, and I already have my own thoughts because I might be going on a different track. Then it's like, oh, but did you think about this as well? How can I apply it? How can I help people with this? So that's when it says, the gut influences and things of that nature. Well, some of our kiddos are being judged on that. Some people are just not great test takers. I've had conversations with my wife, and Daisy will say, well, I don't like taking tests in that regard. And it's like, yeah, but you've proven that you're excellent at this, and that. But it's just about the test, that moment, especially if English is second language and they put the clock on you. Remember when I was in college at William James, some of the tests that we would do, because we were mostly offline, off-site, and during that test, it would have a clock with a countdown. It's like, why would you put that? Some people get anxiety behind that or what have you. So there's different things that go into this here that can have us kind of, pull to the side or what have you. So yes, I love the fact that I could synthesize those things and now come with a different approach or share, this, write this up for me. So it saves me so much time. It acts as a secretary. So it will impact us. And why does this all connect? Because you mentioned 2030. Yeah, well, just 3 more years after that, the fund that pays out Social Security is no longer going to have that evergreen, that bottomless pit. So because there's more people living longer and there's less people putting money into the system for things like AI. Because if we're talking about using it to do those things, that used to be a person that would come up with legal briefs. There used to be an admin assistant that would do these things, or you pay someone 4 or 5 hours. So if you're not paying that person's not paying taxes into the system, then we're just talking about a couple use cases where these jobs are being replaced. Doesn't mean every job is going to be replaced. It means you need to know how to leverage it so you can get that job that they're hiring for. If not, the you got to bear the consequences. And some of those are, I already saw from my Social Security Administration letter, it said 2333, 2034. There's two different funds that monies are come out from, and it's not that it'll be empty. It's just not going to be enough to give us dollar for dollar. So right now you're of age where you can be collecting, and when I get to that age, Lord willing, if you were collecting $1,000 a month because of the years that you put into the system, and I was supposed to get that same thousand, I would only get 800. So I have to come up with something to fill in that gap. And the ways that I talk to people about it is by stop leaking your money in other places. Don't give away your money in the form of, you know, food delivery systems upcharging you 40, 50, 60%. Let's go to the place and go pick it up, or call places that still have delivery people on site. The pizza shops and some of the Chinese food places still have their own person that does it, not a third party that's going to upcharge you, because this is where you're leaking. You're also leaking with, my printers right here. Some of these places want you to have subscriptions to there, just like how you said with the internet. I have to subscribe. No, I'm gonna buy ink when I need ink. I
Right,
don't need you
right,
to
right,
tell me every month.
right,
I didn't print enough to need ink again, but they want to
right,
give you that all the time. And if not, I've seen whether your printer stops working. They'll stop it if you don't keep up with the
right.
subscription. They even had it as drastic as a car shutting down, these electric cars. That's why I'm not partial to that, because when you can look it up yourself, the person remotely said it stopped the functioning of the car. Imagine you're on a road trip and it's cold, and that you come out, you went in the gas station real quick, or you went to use the restroom, you come back out and that car doesn't turn on, and you're not even at your hotel or anything. That's an extreme but very real instance of where you didn't pay the person because of that rental or subscription model, and now they're saying, well, now you can't even print with the ink that you do have in your house that I already bought. I don't have a relationship with you guys anymore, HP, but I have my own. Let me use that up. Nope, because they can remotely control that. Same thing with that vehicle. Again, drastic, but very real. And the person didn't even owe any money. There was just a mistake, because things happen. People make mistakes all the time. People transpose digits. The person on the other end said, yes, I do realize it was a mistake, but the team or the department that does that, reactivations are gone for the weekend. It was a whole big thing. The person had a lawsuit. But yes, there's a new world where you're going to own nothing and love it. That's why people are buying up these properties and renting it out to use you. You don't own it. That's why I keep talking to people about wills and trusts, to make sure that you have that succession plan, because people's wealth is tied into it. It's not so you're going to be a billionaire, but it's saying, hey, what little you may have is going to be taken away, and now you're at the beck and call of someone else who can just continue to raise rates, and AI is even involved in that. There are a lot of consortiums where people are having these apartments or buildings all under one umbrella, and they're just steadily raising rates. And if you can't pay it, get out. And they don't care that some of these units are empty, because the ones that are filled are subsidizing the ones that are empty, because we're getting so much. We're making so much over here that it doesn't matter that, you're only 30% occupied in a certain building. And so, yeah, there's been a lot of not only class action lawsuits, but movements by attorneys generals in different states to try to offset that. So there's a lot of things happening. And so I want people to control the things that they can control. Like I said, the way you prepare the food, we don't have to deep fry everything. I know I don't ever want to disrespect culture and legacy. That's Big Mama and Papa. They did what they had to do with what they had. It wasn't necessarily because they wanted to or knew about these things. So the awareness says, hey, if you know better, you do better. I was in Puerto Rico a couple weeks ago, and first thing in the morning, we were driving to, whatever trip we're going to do for the day, and there's great businesses, on the side of the road. Sweet lady, and she was, cooking up some things, and man, my heart sank. I was on the phone with my mom, and I saw right on the side, big old tub of lard is what she was using to prepare things with. And I know you know what lard is. You don't want to be using
You
that.
don't want that in your system.
You don't. I shouldn't even be laughing with it because you want to talk about hardening of arteries, you want to talk about clogging things up. Man, you're asking for that. People are doing what they can know, what they can do.
You wouldn't have known if you didn't see it on the side, right?
No, and it just so happened to be, it was almost this color too. Just so happened to be turned to where I could see that. And she just bloop, dollops. You know what I'm saying? A dollop. Just throwing them into this big vat. And I was like, no, thank you. I don't want to disrespect anybody, but because everybody that was going to grab something to eat, I was like, no, I'm all set. Thank you. I had a banana back at the Airbnb. That banana gonna have to hold me till we get somewhere we're going and I can get something to eat. But lard, pastor, mm-mm, mm-mm. Yeah, so that gut brain, this is what this is what I'm talking about. So yeah, I mean, you know, um, I do want folks to just be cognizant. I do want folks to lean into the technology for those things. Hey, can you give me some fiber-rich foods? What are some of the things that I can eat? Some people might change their diet. You don't go on a diet, but you can change it. Some people might say, I want to incorporate more Mediterranean things, more nuts, more olives, or whatever the case is and say, even if for one day I stopped eating these processed meats, I'm having a struggle because my son loves Lunchables. Lunchables has that processed meat, the little circle meat inside. Like, but it's not forever. He usually goes through these phases and then we introduce something else little by little. He'll be off. And I don't want to have a tug of war and fight and have it be a point of consternation. But yeah, that's the hot dogs. I used to grab those. I used to grab those right out the refrigerator, and it's like, yeah, that's the epitome of processed meats. We don't want those things. Those things are tied to cancer, let alone our gut health.
Yesterday, I had to order a pot for my camera that we use here at the church. Now, normally with my busy schedule, it could take me a week to look at the item and then start typing into the computer information about the item. I took AI, I took Chat GPT, I put it up to the cord. It said, okay, good, I know what this is. I'm gonna go and see if I can find this one. Came back a few minutes later. They're not selling this anymore or making it anymore. I'm going to find something that's comparable. Came back with three and said, which one do you want? That works, that works, that works. And then I noticed that the tip on the item was different than the tip that I had in my house. And I, again, took the camera, showed it, and said, oh, you're right. And in less than 15 minutes, they found the right one and had it ordered for me.
Mm, mm. This is what I'm talking about when I say lean into it. So, what type of without AI, how would that play out in your mind? Let's start there.
Well, I was going to ask you this question. One of the things that I'm learning with AI and my finances is how do you get AI to know you? Because it's important that AI, every time I want to do something on AI now, it knows that I'm a pastor. It asks me if I want to do a devotional. Do I want to do a sermon? It's connected me to a lot of these things that it knows a lot about me. So how would you do it? Would you set up a series of questions for your AI or ask AI to set up the questions and you answer them? What's the importance of getting AI to know you?
So you hit the nail on the head for me on the second part of what you said. So I just gave it the question right now. I said, um, because I wanted to do it from scratch. How can I get AI to know who I am?
Okay.
So it says the non-technical everyday methods, fast and safe. Put the key facts in of what would you like ChatGPT to know about you, your goals, your preferred name, style. It'll change how replies are tailored. Use the memory feature. It supports memory. It can add persistent facts. Curtis
Yeah.
prefers to be called Curtis, sometimes Kurt. Founder of COC Consulting, focuses on trauma-informed financial counseling. The AI will recall those across the chat. So there's certain things that you can say, I want you to keep this because if you're not, you're just doing like Google searches and it may be in the history, it may not. It may just be we were talking today and every day it's a new reset. I don't want that. I want you to keep certain things in your mainframe. And so for me, I was like, man, do I have any writing samples? I was in school recently, finishing up my bachelor's, you know, put in one of those essays or those reflection papers. I like reflection papers because you're not be held, holding to trying to talk too scholarly or what have you. This is me talking as me, basically, not maybe slang laden, but it is me. So if for those who have that, fine. That's not going to be everybody with a reflection paper handy. You can just ask it, give me some questions so that we can get to know each other, and it'll ask you so it can see your prose, your prose, how you write. How do you use these long sentences, short words? What type of phraseology do you use? That's important because I just got an email from a colleague yesterday, and she was introducing me to the board of directors, or the executive leadership team of this nonprofit, so that I can partner with them on counseling women coming out of different challenging situations in their life or what have you. And so, sure enough, hey, can you respond to this email? I just took a copy of it, respond to this email, and I'm going to look at it first. I'm not going to blindly send something. That does sound like me. You know what I'm saying? That is something I would do. There's still some times where I want to write it myself, but there's also times where it can save you time and it still sounds like you.
Mm.
That's huge.
So that's made the difference for you.
Absolutely. So, I would do like an about me type of thing, like a two, four, hey, I grew up in San Diego. My dad's Navy man. My mom and my dad were married. They were out there, they traveled. They're from Panama. And all these things. I even gave it a story that my mom gave me about my grandmother, great grandmother, and what she would do. Today's Friday. She'd be at the docks in Panama by the canal and, make a killing, selling fish and prepared foods and things like that. And GPT, one time I was writing about something else and it said, hey, you want me to add an anecdote about that? Maybe that's how you got your entrepreneurial spirit. Who knows? I never met the woman, but that's where her legacy may live on. So it's like, man, this is crazy. But yeah, so you just have these conversations and ask it what should, like you said, what would you like to know? What should I do so that you can get to know me, so that when it's time for me to write a proposal, so that we can get some grant money, so we can have an after school program or a computer lab. I can save that time and have it not just write this standard block thing. And you're going to go in there and ask it to make sure it sounds humanized. Don't just come with all these dashes, because I know that ChatGPT loves to put these M dashes and things of that in there. So don't think that I'm telling folks to use it to write their papers in school or what have you. You can, but you want to make sure it has you. It always still has me in it, the essence of me. I'm going to go in there and write certain things and little anecdotes, and it can build the shell around it. Because if you have it do it itself, you're not going to remember it. So I don't want to be putting something out there and not remember it. So if you're doing a lesson, you're teaching, you're preaching, it still has to be you, and this can make it flowery and spruce it up. But it's a great tool.
We have 7 minutes left. So let me ask you another question. So, on your speaking engagements, when people want to engage you, is it primarily around finances, or are they now beginning to talk to you about finances and AI? Or do you feed it into whatever AI, into whatever presentation you're dealing with?
Good question. I make sure that I'm letting people know that CLC is it's a wellness consultancy. It's overall wellness. So that takes the form of finance, because I know finances are in everything. So that was my point of attack. My Trojan horse is saying, hey, we start here and talk about money. We know that there's going to be these verticals from that. I do need to let people know that whether it's professional development on the corporate side or in the community-based setting, for women coming out of abusive situations, or single parents, or, dads, raising kids, there's these other pieces as well. That's why the other night I was intentional about doing digital literacy. How do you know a website is safe? Okay, HTTPS. That S is the secure piece, the lock. So it's more than just this guy's teaching about credit and savings. You can get Zach from the Citizens Bank to do that. He's going to obviously want to get you to open up accounts and things of that nature, but at least he's giving you the fundamentals of literacy. I'm talking about use cases and applying it. How and why it ties into your long term, outlook or what have you. So yes, we have digital literacy. I will talk about AI, but I also talk about online safety and avoiding frauds, because a lot of people will make the money over all these years, and then one bad mistake can have it taken away because you clicked on a link that you thought was from Pastor, and it wasn't from Pastor because Pastor doesn't use that type of P in his email or what have you. It was, a little tweak different or what have you in that link. So digital literacy, emotional intelligence, because a lot of us are jumping off half cocked, and I'll tie that into things like our gut brain so that you don't just react when you're on the highway or when someone says something to you at work. So there is the emotional intelligence, there's the digital literacy because this digital landscape that our kids are growing up in and that we're thrust into now, and of course the financial piece is that thing that ties is that overarching umbrella. So I want people to know and lean into technology, not be afraid of it, and understand that it's not going anywhere. So you can sit on the sideline and get swept away, or you can embrace at least a working knowledge of it.
Could you, do I have the right name, Alicia Little?
Little.
Okay. So could you tell people as we wind down who she is? Is she considered your coach in the AI world?
Is she
Or do you consider
considered
her
a
your
coach?
coach? Yeah.
My personal coach?
Sure. Your
Yeah,
personal
she
coach.
is a coach. She's an awesome consultant. I saw her on Earn Your Leisure, which is these two brothers that are in the financial, literacy space, and she was down there at their Invest Fest. I've seen her on different shows and platforms and podcasts. They're in the Atlanta area, and she's my coach de facto, because of the things that I follow. And find your own. I don't want to push one person, and if you don't like her style or her voice, then you're off. No, find yours. And so, yes, Alicia Little is mine unofficially, but you can go on Instagram and follow Sabrina. Forget her last name. I can put that up as well. She's awesome because she's not a person that's like, well, you're mine, mine, mine. She's going to tell you of other AI people that are teaching this out here. I know you said we have a few minutes left, so I want to pull her because if you can follow her, she'll tell you who else is doing it and has free groups and classes and courseworks through this app called School, Skool, and that's like this housed place where people can come in and say, okay, well, you're part of us. We're going to drop our lessons in there or what have you. So it's awesome. Sabrina, Sabrina underscore Ramonov, Sabrina underscore Ramonov or Ramon OV, Ramonov, Ramonov, Sabrina underscore Ramonov. As soon as you get that Sabrina underscore Ram, there's not going to be anybody else like that. So you can click on her, and she's a great conduit. She has great content herself on easy everyday on ramps for AI, and then we'll tell you other people that are doing it as well. So she's probably my coach more so than Alicia at this point, but I can never get enough people because I want different insights and tools because you talked about this video is going to be about 40 minutes long. Imagine someone using the Opus clips and taking it and saying, put that in there. And when you put that in there, it's going to watch the video for you in 4 seconds or 4 minutes. I'm being facetious, and it'll break up clips. So now you can have little shorts that you can put out
Right.
there.
That's what they said yesterday.
That's huge.
I hate to tell you this, but I am now a VIP.
Hey,
They had a
he went
person,
in.
they had a person on yesterday who was teaching people how to fill out applications for grants. And one thing she said that made sense to me after she said what she said, you need to be applying for at least one grant every single day. You apply for one grant. And I missed her presentation, but I heard the last 10 minutes. So
Hmm.
I became a VIP
There
so
it
that I
is.
could get the material because what she was saying was so powerful.
Yeah.
And if we implement something like this here, it's going to make a difference. And then lastly, for me, um, we should just do a broadcast on AI
Hmm.
alone. Is to be able to go to one of their three days seminars
Yep.
where they teach you how to do this in ways that we haven't even touched it yet.
Yeah. Haven't even scratched the scratch.
We got to figure out how we can make one of these trips.
Yep. Do I have enough time to give you a verse?
Go ahead.
So I tried to bring a tie-in, and the best that I could do or come up with was there's a few here actually. I like whoever believes in me, as scripture has said, rivers of living water will flow from within them. within them. The Greek word koila, I don't know how to pronounce it, Koillia, meaning the belly, points to life and health flowing from the core of a person. So gut brain
Mhm.
health. Beloved, I pray that you may prosper in all things and be in health, just as your soul prospers. It echoes the balance between physical health and inner spiritual well-being. So, and there's another one from Philippians 1:8. The first one that I read was John 7:38. Whoever believes in me, and then the second one was 3 John 1 and 2. Beloved, I pray that you may prosper in all things. I should have prefaced that, but there was also one in Philippians. For God is my record, how greatly I long after you and you all in the bowels of Jesus Christ. In Paul's time, bowels refer to the seat of deep emotion, much like how we now talk about gut feelings. So there's some verses that, it's not going to be a tie-in to gut brain, but just what I was thinking. I even use AI, say, hey, help me think of some of these things that would make an allegory to these things. So, you know,
Well, Curtis, thanks for coming on, and we got to do this again. I saw what happened at the beginning, and it happens sometimes. So sometimes you got the elected officials sitting in here, like the mayor or the governor, and you have a little glitch. What I do, I keep staying with it until I can perfect it, and I usually am able to find the glitch. Whether it's on a Zoom, when you do Zoom, there's the potential for even more glitches. But we got it and we resolved it, and I hope I'll be able to replay this once I edit it today, and I'll send you a copy as soon as I get it done.
absolutely. Thank you for having me on. Let me know when you want to do the AI um, session. In the meantime, feel free to follow me on Instagram at CLC Consulting 13.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.